chilled Pinot Grigio. Where am I bloody going to put that glass? Now, some of my space is taken up here where what you might just notice is alcoholic beverages. That's because we're going to make some cocktails to go with this, or before it, or whatever. So, we'll worry about that later. We're going to have some grilled chicken. That's a bit boring, isn't it? So let's spice it up a bit, and we're going to have some grilled chicken Za'atar. And we're going to have it with a dill yoghurt sauce and a salad. There's glass one. So, grilled chicken Za'atar. Za'atar is a herb, a Levantine culinary herb, or it's a family of herbs, but it's equally a spice mixture. Okay, so we're going to make this spice mixture. So for that, I've got some sesame seeds. Now, I've got 4 teaspoons in here. I've doubled my quantities, but we'll go with what it should have been, which is 2 teaspoons. All right, and I'm just going to put this on a medium to high heat, and what we want to do is toast them. Okay, I'll move my glass over here because I kept looking, trying to pick up the empty bloody glass. You can't have that, can we? And we just want to toast them so they get fragrant, which I've no idea when that is because I can't smell, and golden. Okay, we don't want to burn them, we just want to toast them. And then we're going to want to remove them from the heat and let them cool. Some of them have changed colour already, unless they're already a bit fine colour. Now, this spice mixture, this is just one of the ingredients goes in it. We're going to be adding some of the sort of original ingredients, but I'll explain that in a minute, and also a couple of other sort of semi-optional. Unfortunately, I got rid of my little omelette pan. This is my more crepe pan, and it's not quite so easy to mix things up with. So I'm going to use a spoon. So like I say, we just want to toast these. Shouldn't take long. As soon as they start going a little bit golden, move them from there. I've got a big bowl here because we're going to make a marinade using this Za'atar mix to put our chocolate in. But they have now started to colour up, so I'm going to turn the heat off, and because I don't want them to burn, we're now just going to transfer them out of that pan, get them go everywhere, and we actually don't need that pan now. A few little bits in there. I'm just going to let this set aside to cool down, and then we'll start on the other ingredients. Now, this Za'atar spice mix dates back, well, it's a staple of Arab cuisine going all the way back to medieval times. And that includes not only the spice mix, but also the original Za'atar herb. And it is not just Arab, it's throughout the whole of the Mediterranean region, if you like, and the Middle East region. So Jordan, Lebanon, Palestine, and actually Palestine figures quite heavily in this as well. So in this bigger bowl, which is where my marinade is going to be, I'm going to add the other spices. So I've got half a tablespoon of sumac. Now, I'm not going to go into what sumac is because you should have been following other recipes I've done where I've told all about sumac. So in that goes, and then, oh, don't put that one in yet. That's for me yoghurt sauce. And then I've got some oregano. Okay, I've got a teaspoon of oregano, dried oregano. In that goes. And then a very important one, particularly for Palestinians, thyme. And I've got half a teaspoon of dried thyme as well. And that goes in there. Now, I say it's important to Palestinians. Not just thyme, which is considered quite an important herb, but za'atar as well is often, it sort of signifies the Palestinian home. So even for Palestinian refugees, this sort of brings back or signifies their home regions and whatever. Because different regions in the Arabian Peninsula and that, essentially was a family sort of recipe. Where's my little thingy gone? I bet she's been and put that in the wrong bloody place again. Oh, well, it'll have to be that one. Each family would have their own sort of special blend of these Za'atar spices, and there may be other things going in it as well, but that's what we're putting in there. Okay, right, let's create a bit of room. They've cooled down enough, they can go in there. Okay, so that is our Za'atar spice mix, but we're going to turn it into a marinade for our chicken thighs. We're using chicken thighs, skinless, boneless chicken thighs. So we're going to add a few more ingredients to it, but that is your Za'atar spice mix. Got about 3 cloves of garlic here, and we're just going to mince them into our bowl. Where can I put a bowl? It won't fall over. Oh, that's still too hot. Don't you dare fall over and go over it, little shit. Now, if I was a pasta queen, I wouldn't bother about peeling it. She just sits there and says, put it all in the garlic crusher and crush it all out. But I'm not the garlic queen. Not garlic queen, sorry, pasta queen. So I'm going to peel it. Now, the herb, Za'atar herb, is actually a family of oregano. Oregano, Syria cum or something. So it's like Syria with C-U-M on the end. And that is known to go back to biblical times. And it's believed to be that in the Bible, there's this herb, if you like, Ezoph. Well, it might not be pronounced quite like that, I don't know. But it, in turn, it's believed to be, or translated as hyssop. But it's not the hyssop we know today. It's a different sort of species or version, if you like. Hence the reason we've got oregano in here. So I'm just going to crush that garlic into that. We are going to be adding some garlic on to our other bits. Okay, and then the other thing we want to do is we now want to take 1 whole lemon, and we're going to put the juice of that whole lemon into that spice mix. Oh, I need a drink after this. Now we just want to add a little bit of pepper, which of course may or may not have been black pepper in the past, might have been long pepper, and a generous pinch of salt. Just going to mix that in, and then we're going to add about 4. Let me get my thing out. Where did I put the lid? Right in front of me. About 4 tablespoons I'll just do 4 or 5. Oh, well, it don't really matter. I think I've done 5 now. Let me get a lid on that before I knock it over. And that is now going to be our marinade for our chicken. Now, when it comes to grilling this chicken, we're not actually going to grill it. We're going to pan fry it in a like a skillet. You don't have to use a skillet. You just use an ordinary pan, or do it on a barbecue. But you won't need any oil on your pan or anything because of the amount of oil in there. So there you go. That is our Za'atar marinade done. So we've got our Za'atar mix, spice mix, lemon juice, olive oil, and a bit of garlic. And salt and pepper, but we'd probably put salt and pepper into the spice mix anyway. So now we want our meat. Like I said, we're going to use skinless, boneless chicken thighs. So what I've done, I've already started. I couldn't be bothered waiting for you guys to catch up. He's taken my chicken thigh and I've sort of cut them into approximately equal sizes, although I've made a bit of a hash of this one, and cutting off all this excess skin fat that's on here. So much for being skinless. Look at that. What's that on there? And we're just going to chuck that in that marinade. So you probably want about 6 chicken thighs. This one's sort of, I don't know how many's in here. And look at how small that one is compared to them others. So the spice mix, we have mentioned the other sort of Arabian spice mix before. Gosh, this is huge, this one. That's almost like I've got to cut that one up again. Shall I cut that again? Yeah, I might do. Actually, I think that's a bit of bone in there. There is a bit of bone there, I can feel that. We've mentioned before, when we've been talking about these spices, baharat. And that, like this sumac mix, Za'atar mix, very high in antioxidants. So technically good for you. Don't know if you can say anything else that's in this technically good for you. So anyway, what I want to do now is get that all mixed in. So now we're going to take that and we're just going to massage that marinade into that chicken. Now, this is where now you want a minimum of 2 hours for this to absorb those lovely flavours. Now, you can, if you like, leave it overnight in the fridge, leave it up to 24 hours. Obviously, the longer you leave it, the better it's going to be. And like you can see, like I said, this is now oily enough, greasy enough, you won't need to grease your pan. Better bloody need to. So, that now, like I say, cover that over, shove it in the fridge for a couple of hours. Now, while that's doing that, we can make our yoghurty sauce. So like I said, we're going to accompany this with a dill yoghurty sauce. So in here I've got about a cup. Can't be bothered translating what that is. Convert it. About a cup of natural yoghurt. Okay, and into that we're going to put half a teaspoon of cayenne pepper. Now that is optional, or you could put a little bit more in, or you could put a little bit less in. Okay, pinches of salt, and then there's the garlic press on. Again, about 3 cloves of garlic. Some of these are like tiny, so there's a bit extra. So in that goes. Oh, it's hard work. This is drinking work. This is. Oh. Here we go. Get sound effects as well. In that goes. That you're now finished with. Now you want to juice of 1 lemon. So just like before, cut one in half, chuck it in the press, squeeze the bugger out. Get rid of that bit. Here goes that bit. I always put them in the other way around because I thought that seemed to work, but now then I've watched videos and it's now you put it around that way, which is a bit weird. I would have thought you'd take it the other way, but never mind. That seems to work better anyway. So in that goes. That's that finished with. Okay, we won't be using that again. And then finally, you want a good generous handful of fresh dill. Now this dill, I've taken the thicker stalks off, and what I want to do is now just chop this up finely, and then that's going in there as well. Now, going back to our spice mix, our Za'atar. Sometimes, or quite often, street vendors and so on, and bakeries would sell breads or pita breads or flat breads alongside their spice mix, their Za'atar, and you would dip your bread into oil and then dip it into the spice mix and eat it like that. It's sometimes added Za'atar, the spice mix, sprinkled on hummus, and again eat that with flatbread or whatever. So it is a very popular spice, and like I say, it sort of has connections back to biblical time, although the actual species of the herb that they talk about back then is probably not the same version that we have today. It's about to slice my finger like that with that bloody sharp knife, stupid bloody idiot. So in that goes, and that, after I mixed it, will be our, well, not really dipping sauce, but it'll be our dill yoghurty sauce. So there we go. Let's just give that a good old mix to go up. Might add a little bit more yoghurt to that actually, because although I actually use more than a cup, I think, of yoghurt, perhaps that was just a bigger lemon, because that's ended up a lot more runny than the recipe that I was following. So there's my yoghurt. She got me a big pot of yoghurt. I love my yoghurt. One of the things, and even if I don't use all that, I'll eat that. I love yogurt. One of the favourite, although I have to say, this is fat free. 0% fat. Not quite as nice. Perhaps that's the problem. Perhaps it's just not thick and creamy enough. Because no fat in it. But yogurt and honey, Greek style. Love my life. Just tell me I'm a pig. That's what she used to say to me. We'd be there in Greece, we'd have a meal, and I said, I'll have yogurt and honey. Not as my main meal. And she'd be going, pig. I don't know what the connection is, but there you go, never mind. Right, so now that's done. Cover that, shove it in the fridge. So it's time to start cooking that chicken. So I've put a griddle pan. Don't touch it. Don't touch the fucking handles. It's fucking red hot. Don't touch it. Just letting that get up to heat. And then we're going to cook it off in batches. And then just put it on a plate. Just keep it warm for a bit. I've prepared my plates with the salad on. We've still got our sauce to put on it. And we're on to the old passion fruit martinis now. I'm saying about a Za'atar in history. The herb, the thyme, Thumbra spicata, which is what is used in modern Za'atar, the thyme that you use in modern Za'atar, actually was found in the tomb of Tutankhamun. And it was obviously, well, because Tutankhamun, it was known to the ancient Egyptians, although they didn't call it anything like that. They called it something like Sam. He says, making out he knows what he's saying, how he's pronouncing it. Saem. Going back to the oregano spice, the wild spice of that, 1977, the Israelis. So while I'm just doing that, let me take a bit of these chicken thighs. There you go. Hear that sizzle? And like I say, we're just going to cook this in some batches. Get one more bit in there. 1977, the Israeli government announced that because it was obviously quite a sort of rarish species, they decided to make it a protected species and made it illegal to harvest it. Unfortunately, this didn't go down too well with the Arabs in that region, because they said this deliberately, because it was quite traditional for Arabs to pick and harvest this wild oregano, and so they argued that this was just Israel being anti-Arab, but it was not. Who knows? Not going there. Anyway, the Za'atar has been used as a seasoning for meats, like I said, pita bread, flatbreads, dipped in oil, dipped in the spice mix, because remember our spice mix is a marinade. The original, before we put the oil in it, it was just a dry mix. Now you dip it in there and eat it like that. It was often used in the Jordanian, well, perhaps it might not have been Jordan, but it's quite common in Jordan, a labna. I think I mentioned that before, but anyway. And bread and olive oil as part of their breakfast routine. It's also in Palestine, Israel, and other parts in that area. Now, I'd like to turn that temperature up a little bit. We now just want to grill that about 5 minutes on one side, and then we're going to turn it over and grill the other side. And then, like I say, we'll transfer it out onto a plate just to keep it warm, if you like. Let it rest for a bit. Final batch of chicken is in there, and we're just going to cook off that final side. And we're back on the wine because the wife didn't want too many cocktails. Now, Za'atar, right back in ancient times in the Mediterranean region, it was sort of recognised or thought of as a way of getting rid of internal parasites, digestive parasites. Who knows whether it was or not, who knows. That's it, that's a bit of thick fire, but I have to cook that a bit longer. But equally, there was a 12th century medieval rabbi and physician. He lived in Spain, Morocco and Egypt, Maimonides or something like that. And he said that it had health properties, and not just health properties, but it was advanced health properties. Quite what he meant by that, who knows. In the 13th century, there was an Arabic book, which is considered sort of like the book on one-dose medicines, if you like. So I've never heard that before. And in that, it said Za'atar was particularly good at the gastrointestinal problems, relieving abdominal pain, not causing abdominal pain, and aiding digestion. And then back to Palestine again, where I said some of these spices or herbs had sort of like significant properties. They said it's good for your mind, good for your brain. And not only did it make your mind alert, but that children should eat it because it made them more alert and therefore more intelligent because they would learn more. You know. Alright, this is, some of these bits are going to just take a little bit longer because, like I say, that's quite a thick, chunky bit of pie. So, as soon as that's cooked, don't touch that and move that with your fingers so that things have to mix. We'll plate up. So remember, I've already got my salad. The wife, she's gone weird. She's abnormal. Got tomato in her. Salad's done. We're going to get ready to spoon out our sauce. Have a little taste of that. Got a good kick to it. If you don't like chilli, go for as much as I did in it. Here we go then. So, we take our spice mix. Sorry, our yoghurt sauce. Definite kick to that. Give it a bit of mix. And then we want to put a generous splash of that on there. And then we take our chicken and we just lay that, get a bit down near the bottom there, into that sauce. And there you go. There is our grilled chicken Za'atar in a dill and chilli yoghurty sauce with a bit of salad. So let's, although I just did taste that dill sauce, let's have a bit of salad with the dill sauce. It's got that lemony yoghurty tang with the heat of that chilli. There's garlic coming through. Let's try a bit of that chicken. Chicken's still nice and moist. Not only that, you're getting them, I can taste the sumac. I think possibly the sumac is the most powerful bit of that sauce. What it's really meant to be, or not, who knows. And it certainly does, along with the salad, help cut through that chilli hit. So it's not too powerful. Not sure if that chicken's cooked in the middle there. Be a bit tough there, a bit. I think it's all right. Just a bit awkward cut using just your fork, isn't it? No. That chicken is perfect. Wife said it smelled really, really nice. Remember, I can't smell bloody thing. And the back on the wine anyway. So, your grilled chicken Za'atar. Not as much effort as it possibly looked tonight, because you can prepare everything in advance, chuck it in the fridge, and then all you got to do is grill the chicken when you're ready. Charles.